I need you to hate so I can use you for your energy.
This is Real Sales Talk. Real sales advice from real sales practitioners. Giving you tips on how to dominate your sales quota are your co-hosts, Sean Mitchell and Phil Keene. This episode is brought to you by Convertist. We are incredibly excited to have partnered together with Convertist, which helps SaaS and services run managed outbound campaigns for teams looking to drive new pipeline opportunities. For teams targeting mid-size and enterprise deals, Convertist integrates with CRMs like Salesforce to uncover actionable data in their sales processes, which enables them to find areas of improvement and double down on strategies that actually work. Benchmark the lead generation performance expected of a seasoned SDR and identify actionable areas of improvement in a sales process, all out of one place with Convertist. For teams looking to measure and enhance their performance of their sales funnel and architect a better revenue engine, cast an application to join the Convertist Slack group. It's at convertist.com/Slack. That's Convertist, convertist.com/Slack, SLACK. What's going on, everyone? It's Real Sales Talk. Sean Mitchell, Phil Keene, and we are going live again with Season 8, episode. I don't even know what episode we're on because we haven't even published all the other ones yet. So we're on some episode here, and super pumped about this one. I have my friend Chris Smith on the call to talk about the anatomy of a perfect sales call. And there's two components we'll spend most of the time on. Chris, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Sean. Thanks for having me. I love your show, man. You're doing great work.
Appreciate it. Really glad to have you on. Glad we could fit it in your schedule. Excited to talk about a few topics of your book, The Conversion Code, which I've been listening to on audio version. Really great job, my friend. Sounds great.
Thanks a lot. It was a lot of hard work, but definitely worth it. I feel like people used to say, are hardcover books, paper books or ebooks going to win? And I think the answer is audiobooks actually ended up winning.
I've talked about this a number of times on Real Sales Talk, but I'm at a place in life where I'm not sitting down to read a book. I'm listening to a book in my car going from sales call to sales call.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree completely. I'm on a podcast every morning if I don't have a book that I'm actively listening to, and you're constantly learning. It's just a good use of time.
Well, and think about it. I can't read your blog at the gym. I can't read your blog in the shower. I can't watch your videos while I drive. Like there's a lot of time that we can't read or watch, but we can still consume. So props to you guys for, having a podcast and putting out great audio content and video, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking this morning as I was getting ready, Chris, when we initially got connected, and I know I worked at BombBomb, and I think it was maybe the first time I met you, the first time we had interaction outside of Twitter was Keller Williams family reunion in Austin. So cool to look back and think progression of what you've done, not only as a public speaker, but now as a co-founder of Curaytor. It's been exciting to see. How's that going, by the way?
Well, I can tell you it's a lot harder to run a business than it is to run a blog. I was a blogger and a speaker, and, it's funny because now I'm like looking at all these authors and bloggers, and I'm like, you guys are lazy. You don't even have a real job, because growing and running a business right now is different than commentating on it. So I had the luxury with Edmund and with Tech Savvy Agent to sort of play Monday morning quarterback. And when you don't actually have to go out and execute and see if the ideas work, you can just dump them on people. Absolutely. But when you've got to think about doing it for your own business and then maybe suggesting it to your own clients, you just become a better curator. You actually have a thicker filter. And so I would say that's my evolution has been, kind of from the tech guy and the mobile guy and the app guy to the tech for the purpose of growth.
Yeah.
Marketing for the purpose of growth, because as a small business owner who's busy, you really don't have a lot of time to guess or to practice. You really need to be focused on people, not passwords.
What excites me most about your trajectory and where you've been is that you've not you're a fantastic pitch man. I think you do a really great job at communicating things in a way that makes sense to people and gets them very excited. But what I really love is that you've continued this theme of sales practitioner from when you started working at Quicken Loans to Move and Realtor.com, and now you're running your own business, and you've generated the first $1 or $2 million of MRR. So I want you to just real briefly talk about that story of when you started Curaytor with your co-founder Jimmy Mackin, and how sales has played a vital role in where you're at today.
Well, I think think about it this way. If your offense is great, your defense doesn't have to be quite as good. And so there's a lot of companies and businesses that understand a leaky bucket. They understand cost. But what happens is when you've got a lot of revenue coming in, it's a little easier to deal with those challenges of additional expenses or hiring. So I've had a sales mindset from day one. I mean, I was selling software and selling loans and selling vacations and selling shoes. And, before that, selling blow pops when I was in junior high. So I've always been a sales guy. And I think salespeople transition well into being executives and leaders. Because if you're not in control of your calls, how are you going to be in control of your company one day? So I do think that you're a more natural leader of a company if you're great at sales than if you're great at marketing, or maybe you're great at service, or maybe you're a great product developer. It took Mark Zuckerberg a long time to be able to grab a mic and command your attention. He was kind of a coder for a long time. So, for me, it was critically important to literally just put the headset on. I mean, Sean, at this point, I'm making like almost $500,000 a year, by the way. Like, I didn't have to do that. I could have easily had a sales guy from day one, but I thought, you know what? Let me crack the code myself. Let me go back in the cubicle, because it had been a while since I had been in the cubicle. I'd done outside sales and, like you said, keynote speaking. So I put my headset on. I did my 40 appointments a week. I dialed for dollars, and I got us to, 2-3 million in recurring revenue, so that we had a real business. We didn't start with business cards. We didn't start with t-shirts. We didn't start with slogans. We started with sales.
It's awesome. I love that. I love the idea. And I think it's interesting to think, you said something really key there. It's really easy to fix some of the other problems, but when you don't have revenue in, all those other problems just become way, way, way worse. And sales fixes so much stuff. It's the old age-old tale, right? Sales fixes everything.
Sure. Well, the reality is, in Silicon Valley, like, if you don't have venture capital, if you don't have a sugar daddy, right, writing checks for you, if you don't have a loan, if you don't give away a large chunk of your company to these outside investors, you actually have to pay your bills every month. So we hate that mindset of, active users or page views as the metric that matters. We think money is the metric that matters, but we're not sitting here counting our dollars all day. We love what we do. We're passionate. But yeah, we decided to build something worth buying and sell it. What a novel concept.
So when we, before we hit record, Chris, we were discussing the direction that we want to go for this conversation. I proposed the perfect anatomy of a sales call, and you said, well, it's going to be difficult to touch on all the things in a sales call that you have to do. But you said, really, if you can start it off right and finish it right, then you can figure out the rest. So I want you to talk about that, and I want to spend most of our time today talking about what is it that makes the beginning and the end so vital for a successful sales call.
Well, I'll give you an analogy. I hope a lot of your audience understands. NFL and football is the most popular sport. And when the Patriots take the field, the first 15 to 20 plays are pre-planned. Like, they don't go out there and guess what they're going to do. And the same, Sean, at the end of the game. Like, Pete Carroll probably should have just gave the ball to beast mode. He got cute and tried to call a play they don't usually run at the end of the game, and he lost the Super Bowl because of it. So I understand wanting to live in the moment and not be real scripted. But if you don't really plan the beginning and the end of your call, you're in trouble. If you can't start the call great, you're not going to have a long call. And if you can't end the call great, you're not going to make money. So yeah, for me, it's all about how do we create a conversation that leads to a customer, and not to say, building rapport and digging deep and all that stuff isn't important. It's just that you don't even get to that if you don't start the call great. It's just that all that doesn't matter if you don't close at the end. It's kind of like I said, we didn't start with the business cards. So many people come to me, Sean, they say, I don't know how to close. And what they actually don't know how to do is start the call the right way. Because if you don't start the call the right way, the close is very hard. But if you start the call the right way and you end the call the right way, it's just like a sports team. You're positioning yourself for success during those moments that matter most.
So interesting. Let's unpack that a little bit more. So as you start the call the right way, the Patriots are a good example. So the Patriots don't walk in the field. They had their 15 plays scripted out. What kind of preparation goes into starting the call the right way?
I call it the pre-call stalk. If people are taking notes, PCS, baby, pre-call stalk. You're going to win or lose the call before you hit dial. And thanks to the internet and big data and social media and CRMs and all this kind of crap, we actually have more information about our leads than ever. When I was back at Quicken Loans, Sean, I didn't have Facebook profiles and LinkedIn profiles and Twitter feeds, and I didn't know which connections I had in common with my leads. I just had a name, a phone number, and a prayer. Now, I will say that we knew the loan amount. We knew the current interest rate. We knew what the home was worth. And so what you're doing before the call starts is you're gathering nuggets. I call it, ammo. And you want that ammo to be custom. You want the bullet to have your lead's name on it, if you will. And so I use an app called Charlie. If you go to charlieapp.com,
we just talked about this one on the podcast a few days ago.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's basically going to bring you all of this insight. I think about it like, when you're a kid in junior high or high school and you're thinking about asking out a girl. You need these levels of confidence to go over there. You got to think you look good enough. You got to think you're smart enough. She's going to like your family. She likes how you dress. She likes your friends. She thinks it's cool you're on the basketball team. Okay, go. You're building up swagger to go over there and ask for the date. That's what sales is. You're before the call. You're just trying to build up swagger inside of yourself before you hit dial. And Charlie app gives you swagger because now you know more than just their name and phone number. Another easy way to do this is go to Google and Google their email address. A lot of people don't know you can do that. You try to find me on Google, Chris Smith, good luck. But if you search chris@curaytor.com, you're finding only results about me and my company and my brand. So the calls are won or lost before they start. I'll give you a good example, Sean, in real estate. I know you have a lot of real estate agents watching. We have a great client in New Jersey named Judy, and she gets a lot of leads on the internet, and she works for Remax. So when a lead comes in, let's say she gets a lead from Zillow, she could start off the call and say, hey, this is Judy. I'm calling from Remax. I got your information from Zillow. Is now a good time to talk? That's a normal opening. Like that almost sounds like what you should say. But the difference between that and saying, hey, this is Judy from Remax. I saw that you found a property over on Main Street that's listed for $500,000. It's got 4 bedrooms and it's in the Sullivan School District. How are you today? Like those nuggets are what win. Like I got a call last week, Sean, from a sales guy trying to pitch me. Hey, we think that you guys should buy this. Curaytor needs this. But he started off and he's like, hey, Chris, I know you're in Boston and it looks like you had a book signing and you guys are doing your first ever small business event. Like props to you guys for your growth. When you get back on Monday, can I have 5 minutes of your time? What am I going to say, Sean? I'm sold. I was sold because he was prepared. So it's just like the art of war. The battle is won or lost before it's fought. The sale is won or lost before it's pitched. And that comes from just pre-call stalk.
So the pre-call stalk doesn't have to be difficult and hard, right? If you're using an app like Charlie, it feeds you that 10 minutes before your phone call and gives you a nice little summary of who the person is, what they're doing on social, and maybe what news coverage they've had about themselves and their company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually getting interviewed yesterday, and this guy had to do a big pitch for a lady at HubSpot. He was trying to sell HubSpot on working with him. And he did his pre-call stalk, and he found out that she was passionate about hiking, and that is one of his passions. And so they had a 45-minute conversation about these boots that are a buzz right now in that industry. And at the end of that 45 minutes, it's like, you know what? Let's get this deal done.
How much does that maybe split 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds of, oh, this person knows what they're talking about because they did their research? How much of that plays into whether you get to the next step in that conversation, that sales call, whatever it is?
It's everything. The way I try to frame this, Sean, is I'm going to describe today a lot of micro moments. They're very, very small, subtle things you do. But guess what? The micro moments are the moments that matter. Those little subtleties are everything. Because if you're like, your normal pitch is going to hit their consciousness, but those tricks are hitting their subconsciousness, right? So I would say it's everything. I mean, for the people that wing it and they don't try these things and they don't build rapport and they don't do their pre-call stalk, what I usually just ask them is, how's that going? Like, how's it going without being prepared?
So pre-call stalk,
Mm-hmm.
you execute it well.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? What do you do?
Well, the first thing you have to do is differentiate yourself from the other telemarketers and cold callers and robocalls and political voicemail drops that we get. So a lot of times you actually, when you go to call a lead, one simple thing is that you have to call them twice sometimes. Like, you know, you get pumped, you got your swagger, you got your nuggets, you're ready to call, you do your stalk, you hit dial, and they don't pick up. And a lot of people say, well, should I email them or leave a voicemail or text them? And what we've learned is just don't do any of that. If you call someone that doesn't answer, just call again right away. That's called the double dial. Like, that alone will get your connect rate through the roof, because if I get a call right now from a number I don't recognize, my first thought is I'm ignoring it. My second thought is I hope they don't leave a voicemail. But if that same number were to call back again, now at a minimum, I know it's a human, right? Because they just called twice, and it may be important or they wouldn't have called twice. So just thinking how people think a lot of times. But here's the key. When they pick up and you rattle off this personalization, hey, I know you're looking at a house over here. It's on Main Street. It costs this much, da-da-da. What you have to do then is what I call gain control. So literally, as soon as you're done with your opening greeting, you're going to say this word for word. Okay, great. Well, I have some information about insert product, right? Home, Curaytor, Tesla, right? Like whatever it is. I have information about X that isn't available on the internet. Can you please grab a pen and paper and let me know when you're ready? Like, when you have someone that's serious about Curaytor, serious about buying a home, serious about buying a pool, serious about buying a Tesla. Like, if the Tesla rep said, hey, Sean, I've got some information about Tesla that Elon Musk hasn't put out yet publicly. Can you grab a pen and paper? I really want you to understand what you're getting into. I've got some notes for you. You would go grab it if you're serious. So with the internet, as you know, we get so many not serious leads. The idea of gaining control is really just for me to identify very quickly, we're still in the first minute, if they're legit and serious, or if they're just going to be one of these leads. It's like, what's this about? Why are you calling me? What is this in reference to? How did you get my number? Right? Like a lot of people will do that, and I can still close them too. But my wife, myself, you, a serious buyer who really wants to buy is going to go get that pen and paper and be excited about it. And then all you do is, like, if you're in real estate, hey, you know, Zillow is really inaccurate. So I'm actually going to give you what the home sold for nearest that home that you found. I'm going to, or, you know, Chris and Jimmy don't put our pricing online. about Curaytor. So I'm going to give you the price. So make sure you got a pen and paper. So you're basically just giving people things they can write down. Write down my name, write down my number. Okay, great. Now I've gained control. I'm in charge. I told you to do something and you did it. And I've identified that you're serious. Step 1, pre-call stalk. Step 2, gain control by telling them to write something down. Step 3 is, even when you do all that, we don't live in a perfect world. So I'm guessing whether you sell cars or software or clothes or, it almost probably doesn't matter what you sell. My guess is that you get what I call a brick wall statement. Like at Quicken Loans, every person we spoke to, within the first minute or two, they would say, I just want to know what the interest rates are. Nobody wants to refinance their home. Nobody wants to save money. People just want to know what the rates are. That's a smoke screen brick wall. I just want to know how much Curaytor costs. I just want to know if it's available. So when people say that, you have to understand that that's how you would act. When somebody says, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be sold, it's exactly like that phrase that people want to buy, they don't want to be sold. And so there's a technique you can use because you're going to get pretty much the same brick wall every day. And it's called ARP. A-R-P. And remember, a lot of the sales that I'm teaching are phone sales, internet leads, boiler room. You're on the phone. You're not belly to belly. So the A stands for acknowledge. The R stands for respond. And the P stands for pivot. So the idea would be like, oh, you want to know what the interest rates are? That's a great question. I'd be happy to pull those up for you. So many salespeople don't acknowledge. They don't even acknowledge what the brick wall was. They go right to the response, which all of a sudden creates conflict. It sounds a little bit what you would call, there's friction there. Oh, you want to know what the rates are? Like, sure, I'll tell you. You know what I mean? You can't get defensive. So, oh, you want to know how much Curaytor costs? Great question. Oh, you want to know the rates? I'd be happy to pull those up for you. Oh, you want to know if that home's still for sale? No problem. I'll look. So you acknowledge what they said. Then you respond. But you don't give a direct response. You don't say the rates are 4.2. You don't say, yes, the house is listed. You don't say Curaytor cost $1,000. Like you don't give the response they want, but you give a direct response. So I would say, oh, you want to know what the interest rates are? Great question. They're the lowest they've ever been. How much money do you need to save to make refinancing make sense? That's the pivot, right? Oh, how much is Curaytor? Curator's not inexpensive. We work with teams and agents. Are you a team or are you a top producer? That's my pivot, right? Oh, you want to know if the house is still for sale? Great question. I'll look it up. If you found it on Zillow, it probably sold 1.5 years ago. How long you been looking for a new home? So it's ARP. Now, when we get to the end, there's a technique called ARC. It's the same concept. It's like, oh, you need to talk to your wife? I can appreciate that. Let's loop her in too. Oh, you need to wait and think about it? I can appreciate that. I think about stuff too. So it's acknowledge what they say, respond to what they say, and then at the beginning of the call, you're pivoting back to what you want to talk about.
I think that's really, really strong, and I'm intrigued to go maybe just another step further. Mm-hmm. So let's say you respond back and they push back. Hey, you know what? I seriously just want to know the rates. Mm-hmm. So maybe you get the second rebuttal again another time. Like, what's your response to this person that did set they are a brick wall and they're not going to be broken? Yep. What's your response to something like that?
Sure. Yeah, my response for you is do your job and try again. That's my response for you as the sales guy, is to do your job and try again. Don't just take that smoke screen. Like, who gives a fuck about a rate, dude? Like, what is a rate? Like, I used to tell people every day, do you realize that there are 0 banks in this country that you can go deposit a rate into, but you could deposit money in all of them. So let's talk about money. You know what I mean? I'm guessing you want a lower interest rate. I'm guessing you want to know what the rates are because you want to see if you can lower your mortgage payment, right? Okay, great. Well, I want to give you an accurate rate. And to do that, I have to run your loan approval through the government. You know, there's been a lot of bullshit with loans these days. So to do that, I have a couple questions first. Like, whose call is it? Is it your call or their call? That's a mindset thing. So I do understand, like, Oh, I really just want to know the rates. I understand that you really just want to know the rates. When people go to Zillow, they really just want to know what their home's worth, but it's about 14% inaccurate today. So I want to give you an accurate rate so that you can see exactly how much money you would save if you refinanced. When's the last time you refinanced anyway? It might not make sense to refinance yet. See how I'm pivoting? You know what I mean? The thing is pivot away. That's the key. You can't run through brick walls. So you got to go around them.
So I think this makes sense for a lot of our listeners, but for those that are new into sales, you've talked about pivoting away from price, for example. Why is that so important?
Oh man, that is one of the biggest mistakes in sales, is to talk about the price before you build the value. Like, you would be crazy to say, hey, we cost X, if you haven't said Y first. So that happens a lot, where it's like, how much is Curaytor? Oh, how much are we? Well, we're not inexpensive, but let me make sure it's right for you first. Because in sales, you're trying to get people more excited than the cost and then close them. And nobody's more excited than the cost in the first 3 minutes, Sean.
Love it. All right. So everything goes great during that sales call. You get to the very end. And what do? How do you close that person down?
Well, this is a big mistake. This is what I call the lion versus the lamb. My boss at Lou Pearlman's company, he was kind of a tough dude. And one day he asked us, he said, hey, when you guys go walk to get lunch downtown, have you ever been asked for money from the homeless guys? And we said, yeah, coach, they ask us every single day. And he said, well, they've never asked me. I mean, I've got a Mercedes, I've got a $1,500 suit. Why are they asking you guys for money and not me? And we thought, like, that's actually a really interesting question. And he said, it's because lambs don't ask lions for meals. Like, the biggest mistake in sales when you're closing is asking for feedback. Like, so what do you think? Are we doing this? Should I get the paperwork started? What do you like? Are we moving forward? Because those questions are dangerous. Because guess what? A real big fat answer is to that question, Sean. No. like your whole goal here is to avoid those dead end questions. So the way that you actually pitch and close is a technique I call FBT. Feature, benefit, tie down. You're actually doing mini closes throughout your pitch. So as an example, I would say, hey, so at Curaytor, we're going to build you the most beautiful website in your market. The benefit of that is your past clients are going to send you more referrals and your price point is going to go up. Would it help your business to get more referrals and increase your price point, ma'am? Yes. Okay, great. The next thing we're going to do, see what I'm saying? I'm not saying, will you buy Curaytor? I'm just saying, okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get you at a 4.2% interest rate, which is going to be about 1.5% lower than yours. Your goal was to lower your interest rate by more than 1%, right? Right. Okay, great. And then the second thing we're going to, you see what I'm saying? You're basically doing mini closes. In my experience, you need to write down 4 to 6 features of working with you. But then the exercise is, what is the benefit to the consumer of that feature? And then can you get them to agree? Not to buy, but just to agree that these several features and benefits matter to them. So as an example, hey, we're going to do professional photography of your home. That's a feature. We're going to put your home in the MLS and it's going to be all over the internet. That's a feature. The benefit is that by taking professional photos and putting them on the internet, your home will sell faster for more money. Isn't that your goal, to sell your home really quickly for as much as you can, sir? Yes. See how I'm closing. It's like Alec Baldwin, always be closing. So I'm closing with each of these little FBTs. And after I do 4 or 5 or 6 in a row, then it's time to really close the people. And
so
when
in order to do this effectively, Chris, we did skip over something that you spend a lot of time in the book talking about, which is making sure that you're building rapport, asking the right questions, not just going one layer, but 2, 3, 4, 5 layers deep. How does that tie into your FBTs?
Yeah, we approach it like this. Like the first 20 minutes of your call, you're gathering what you need for your pitch. You're not pitching. And then the second 20 minutes, you're actually preparing your pitch so that it can be custom to the lead you're talking to. And then the last 20 minutes, you're actually presenting your pitch. So we think of it that way. And so the pitch part of what we do is really separate from the digging deep, the building rapport, the qualifying questions. We go into the first call every time focused on them, not us. And then we go into the second call to do our pitch and our close focused on what we can do for them based on the first call. So your entire pitch. So as an example, Sean, let's say a curator, the FBT is like more leads, better site, better conversions, better past client follow-up, right? Well, that's sort of always what we pitch. But how those things matter to the person I'm talking to changes. So for a lot of people, the past client follow-up module might be the most important because that's where they're leaving the most money on the table. Even if I'm more excited about our website, I'm more excited about our Facebook ads, I'm more excited about our landing pages, I'm actually going to build my pitch around what they need. Like, what is their problem and how does my solution fit for them? So your pitch is never going to be exactly the same, but your FBTs will. It might just be the order in which you use them. For some people, they want to be really hands-on and work alongside of us at Curaytor. For some people, they want to be really hands-off and they don't want to do shit. So for the people that don't want to do anything, my last FBT might be that it's hands-off and you can focus on people. And that's like my crescendo. Whereas the person that's not as interesting to, that might be my first one where it's like, hey, I know you like to do this, but we are going to get it to the 1 yard line for you. So I wouldn't make it as big of a deal as I would with the person that's a big deal for. So yeah, your FBTs are going to have more or less importance to each person you speak to. So you might want to change the order and you might want to change the way you talk about them, but you always have to do the B and the T. The trap here, Sean, is feature, 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 will you buy? Feature, 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 what do you think? Feature, 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 are we moving forward? And if you don't close as you go, you're going to really hate the answer to that question.
I think that is absolutely strong. So sadly, we're running up at the end of the time. Chris, your book, tell us about your book. How do I find you? How do I get in touch with you? And then we're going to run into the exclusive YouTube rapid fire.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is the conversion code. You can go on Audible. Like, I think it's like Grant Cardone's book and my book are like #1 and #2. You know, Fanatical Prospecting on Amazon is #1. My book's #2. So I don't mind being #2 behind some of those legends. Right. But ultimately, it's online. You can just Google the conversion code. It's all about capturing leads, creating appointments, and closing sales. Today was all about the closing sales part, which I think more people need than the other stuff. I mean, let's be honest, Sean, you could buy leads. You could go hire Curaytor and hire our marketer, and we'll get you 300 leads a month. But it's harder to buy the conversation with the lead. It's harder to buy the conversion than it is to buy the lead. So that's why I wrote the conversion code, not the lead generation code. The fortune is in the follow-up. And that's what this book's all about. I hope you guys love it.
Yeah. And there's not enough people out there talking through what happens after a lead becomes a lead.
Well, that was why I wrote it, man. It was like, follow up fast, follow up a lot. Get out there and go. And it's like, well, what the fuck do I say? Yep. What do I say when they tell me to go kill myself? Like, this is it's so hard to be in the cubicle. And you look at the advice online and it makes it seem so easy. Just call fast and call a lot and call it this time. And it's like, dude, I keep getting told to go screw myself all morning. Like, I need more help than call fast and call frequently. So I figure, why don't I tell people what to say, when to say it, how to say it? And I worked in boiler rooms for almost a decade. So I've called thousands of leads. I've made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars closing people over the phone in one call. And a lot of the sales trainer, they didn't even grow up in an internet era. So right. I would call it a modern book for sales and marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that's strong. So let's jump into rapid fire. Everybody that's not listening on YouTube and you're listening on the podcast, we appreciate you. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to YouTube, catch Chris's exclusive YouTube content. So
smart. I like that. That's a good call to action, my friend.
yeah. So Chris, let's get into it.
Mhm.
All right. So 3 quick questions, quick answers.
Mhm.
Tell us something about yourself that we can't find on LinkedIn or Google.
Wow, that's a great question. I would say that my wife is from Brazil and my kids are half Brazilian. And I go to Brazil quite a bit, and I fell in love with soccer because of that. So I grew up my whole life like an American kid, like football, basketball, baseball. And now I like love soccer. My kids play soccer. I'm always at the soccer field on the weekends. You might be able to find that about me on Snapchat or Instagram, but not on Facebook or Google. So there you go.
All right. So give me the one thing that happens today in sales that pisses you off the most.
Sure. I would say the thing that bothers me the most about sales today is the perception of us. Like I put out a lot of content on Facebook, and I have a pretty thick skin, and I'm a pretty positive guy. But consumers hate salespeople. There's just a lot of people that hate salespeople. So I think my biggest complaint is kind of like realtors, right? There's like 10% of the realtors that are amazing people, and the other 90% ruin their reputation. I feel like in sales, it's like 98% shady and 2% people like myself, like you guys, like Neil the Deal, that really care. So I would say that's probably my biggest problem with sales, is that there's so many shitty people doing it.
Cool. Tell me about any daily routines that you have that you think other people should use.
Sure. I use a system that I don't know if I learned it or just, this is a good way to just remember it, probably is a better way. I didn't learn it from him, but we interviewed Chris Brogan. He's a very famous author and blogger. And he has this concept called work like you're on vacation. And the idea is that if you're at the beach or you're in the Bahamas or you're in Europe, but you've got a little bit of work to do before you go to the museum, you're going to wake up a little bit early. You're going to get in the zone before anybody's bothering you, and you're going to crank that work out so you can go do what you really want to do. And so I took that to heart, where I work like I'm on vacation every single day. I literally, from 8:30 to about 1:30 or 2:30, I don't blink. I don't sit. I don't eat. I don't stop. And for those 5 to 6 hours, not saying 15, 16, I'm saying if you'll get in the zone and stay focused and crank work out from 8:30 to 2:30, you actually don't need to work 16 hours a day. So for me, I work like I'm on vacation. I don't waste any minutes. I'm not into chit chat. I'm not into small talk. I'm not into talking about how the weather is or what we're doing this weekend. I come in, I start working, and I don't look away from my computer till I'm done. The other thing is I have a list that I use called AnyDo. So I don't care what's in my inbox, and I don't actually care what's in my calendar. I care what's on this list. It's called Any.do. And this is an 80-20 rule, that 20% of your activities make you 80% of your money anyway. So my AnyDo is like, call and get this big deal done. Go to the bank and put this big check in. Like my AnyDo is my money making activities. And by having them in a simple, lightweight, separate app, it helps me laser focus on them. So work like you're on vacation and put your really important stuff in a separate app.
Awesome. That is absolutely good. Good and sound bites. Hopefully the Real Sales Talk family takes something from that and uses it. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. We thank you so much. So we're wrapping this up. You guys are starting to hear some things, it sounds like, over the last few episodes. Just crazy smart. Go out and buy your book.
Thank you.
Conversion code. Make sure that happens. It's on Amazon. It's number 2. And Audible, it's number 2. Let's make it number 1, Real Sales Talk family. Jeb, you're going to have to come back on the show to make it number 1 again.
Awesome.
So you guys have a great one, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Real Sales Talk. And a big thank you to our sponsor, Convertist. If you enjoyed this episode, go write a review on iTunes or any other podcasting platform.